Good Lord, what is happening in there?
Oh, would you look at that, a Luigi's Mansion video in October. Isn't that an original thought? Well, obviously not, but I've got things to say on this weird little franchise, and no one has opinions quite like mine. And I've wanted to do a video like this for some time now, but the idea stewed for a bit before getting bigger in scope. That happens a lot with me, but I think it makes things better in the long run. Now, this isn't a deep dive analysis on the series, more my assorted thoughts on it, with some parts getting more focus, kinda like my Donkey Kong Country Trilogy video. And like that video, the first game might have more of a spotlight on it than the other two, but what's different here is I'm coming into the whole series as a relative newcomer. I didn't play a single one of these till the 2020s, so allow me to set the mood and tell you where my Luigi's Mansion story began. Starting with the first game, I may have sat on it for 2 decades, but I knew about it from the year it came out. I first saw it on the game show Video and Arcade Top 10, a Canadian classic presented by folks who didn't know what was going on, played by camera-shy kids who, based on their gameplay, also didn't know what was going on. The show ran from 1991 to 2006, though since it's never had a home release, full episodes are hard to come by, let alone specific segments. Thankfully, I did find footage of the Luigi's Mansion episode, uploaded by one of the contestants of all people. He's got a great story about his time on the show, so check out his video when you're done here. Anyway, I begged for a GameCube after seeing it on V&A and in commercials like this one. Luigi's Mansion and Pikmin were some of my earliest Christmas list items. Still haven't played Pikmin yet, but that's for another day. There were 2 big things about this game that caught my eye. First off, I only knew Luigi as player 2 back then. Literally, my only frame of reference for him was Super Mario World. I wasn't exposed to any Mario cartoons, edutainment games, or Luigi's Hammer Toss, so it was cool seeing him in the spotlight. Second reason, mansions. I was mesmerized with mansions as a kid. It basically boiled down to, houses are big, but this one's really, really big. And it's full of ghosts! Though kid me was scared of darn near everything, so maybe it's a blessing in disguise I didn't play this. After growing up and having no excuses, my brother got the game in October 2022. Then we played it soon after and had a blast. It also confirmed our suspicion that we're a fair bit crap at solving puzzles. Like, some we got okay, others took embarrassingly long to crack, and a few had us just give up and look up the answer, only to feel real dumb when the solution wasn't rocket science. Even when getting footage for this video, I had my moments. Less so on the puzzles, but I still got lost pretty easily. Something about the Astral Hall in particular, I can never seem to find this place on my own. And man, I forgot how wonky the controls feel sometimes. Nothing terrible, but some actions felt too slow when I needed them to be instant, like when shooting stuff with the poltergust. And half the time I flashed a ghost, they would disappear before I could suck them up. Anybody else have that issue? Another thing that kills me is the boo catching process. Not the most riveting gameplay, especially when you're going back and forth through a set of doors just to get one, but that final stretch can be a killer pace-wise. On this playthrough, I got 49 boos, and for the life of me, I couldn't find the last one. Searched the whole house 4 times, even the secret rooms, but no dice. I spent almost an hour looking before I reluctantly gave up. The only thing fun about this is that the actual process sounds like you're tickling a chipmunk. And that leads somewhat nicely into one of my favorite aspects of this game, the sound design. Music, voice acting, jingles, and sound effects, it's all great, and the mansion's ghosts are a big part of that. They have a certain je ne sais quoi about them that I love, but I want to highlight the non-portrait ghosts. They all make weird little sounds that, coupled with their designs, make them instantly memorable. If I had to pick a favorite, the ceiling ghosts are way up there for me, pun intended, and I can't get enough of their noises. That dumb little laugh ticks off all the happy nodes in my brain. I I'm legit upset there's no clean rips of it online. Like, why has no one done this? The sound ghosts make when sucked up is another good one. It always makes me laugh, partly because I know how they pulled that off, having worked with audio as much as I have. For other fun sounds, I like the one the bowling ghost makes when he shows up, and I managed to recreate it using Sony Vegas. I just copy-pasted the first clip, messed with the pitch and speed, and got pretty close. And you want to talk about cool sounds? Nothing matches looking in a mirror and having this happen. You should have seen my face when I did that the first time. I got tingles all over from that. Now let's talk about some of the game's music, like the eponymous main theme. You'll be hearing this for most of the adventure, and it soon becomes second nature, lulling you into a rhythm. I could listen to it for hours. I'm taken back to playing Smash Bros. Brawl and loving the remix they did there, so finally hearing the original in its original context was kind of a trip. The more I think about it, I see it as less of a song and more an extension of the game. It changes up when you go outside, Luigi hums along to keep his cool, with his tempo changing depending on his health, and when an area is ghost-free, it's just him whistling, which gets me whistling too. And when it transitions to the main theme again, you know the ghosts are just around the corner. I love it. Dare I say it's one of the all-time greatest themes in video games. The rest of the music's great too. One of the composers here is Kazumi Totaka, and his style is real eclectic. Be it quirky, smooth, hyperactive, he can do all that and then some. He had just done music for the Mario Artist games on N64 disk drive, and if you listen to some of those tracks, that vibe runs deep through Luigi's Mansion. That said, I'm not sure which songs are his or the other composer Shinobu Nagata, but they both killed it here. It's equal parts creepy, jaunty, jazzy, and one of the few soundtracks to make me laugh from music alone. There's Chauncey's theme, which is impossible to hum along to, but that's what I like about it. Show of hands, who thinks this sounds like a busted take on the counting game from Pokemon Stadium 2? Just me? Then there's the ghost catching theme. If you thought Chauncey sounded wild, this is just pure crack. The later games have good catching themes, and props to 3 for changing it up on each floor, but the original wins out for simply daring to get freaky. As one YouTube comment so eloquently put it, this sounds like I broke the space-time continuum. Another great track is at the end, when you put Mario through that machine to set him free. An upbeat take on the Mario theme, which starts out normal, then gets slow and weird, speeds up when the machine gets going. I'm no composer, but I think I get the thought process behind this, plus it just cracks me up. Then it gets back to normal and actually has me pumped to see Mario. Like, how did they do that? One of my favorite uses of the Mario theme for sure. I also like how this game has one foot in the past and one in the present being 2001, you know what I mean. Being a GameCube launch title, it was a hardware showcase, but there's still some holdovers from the N64 days, which for North Americans was basically last week. Paper Mario and Mario Party 3 came out just a few months prior to this. This Mario picture is a cropped render from Mario Golf, grabbing Mario's stuff has that twinkly sound from Mario 64, Bowser and Boo's don't have proper voices yet, so they still use their stock sounds, though that Boo chuckle still pops up now and then, but you know. The Toad theme also uses their Mario 64 jingle, and I'm not head over heels for Mario 64, but I still liked hearing that cue, and I know that hasn't popped up anywhere else. Side note, I love how you can refuse to help the Toads if you're feeling a bit twisted, and they're befuddled when you leave them hanging. For more old stuff, there's the Game Boy horror. Imagine, Game Boy came out in 1989, covered 3 decades, 4 home console generations, and was still kicking by 2001. Now, when Luigi's Mansion came out, the GBA was on the market, but the Luigi devs stuck with the original cause the Advance's design wasn't pinned down during the game's early days. That info came from an interview done by IGN affiliate Insider, which, those guys mistranslated a Jungle Beat interview that left Donkey Kong fans in ruin for years. years, so this one might need a second pass sometime. For Foot in the Present stuff, the visuals blew folks away in 2001, and it's still a looker in some aspects. That Starry Road in the observatory got some genuine oohs and ahs out of me. And I still think the money and loot has never looked better in the series than right here. It's hardly any more mandatory, but it's so nice and shiny. The primal urge takes over. You'd be stupid not to grab them. Oh, what's that? The red diamond is the lowest in value? Don't care. Give me the shiny diamond. At the risk of derailing things right now, I just want you to check this out. My fellow content creator Nitro Rad brought this up, but he's right. I do always do this when I get to this room. Something else the sequels don't have that this game does is a genuine spooky factor. Now the game's not scary, but it does have an unnerving atmosphere, and it's made apparent the literal moment you start it up.
Ancient.
That spooked me ever so slightly, like, whoa, what was that? And could have been a make or break moment for kid me. I can see it warping me for life. These spooks usually happen when things get a bit too quiet and you're suddenly assaulted by ghost noises. A big reason why I love the blackout portion of the game. I'd say the most intentionally creepy stuff is the text. Of all things, file management and the pause screen has the best of it. Wanna quit the game? It says, you'll be back, and we'll be waiting. And deleting a save gives you can erase the files, but not the fear. Or more fear if you want to copy a save. There's also this silhouette of Luigi, which I learned is a snapshot from an early build of the game. It looks like something out of a horror novel or found footage, and check out this screenshot from E3. That date in the corner really gives off Blair Witch vibes. But there's also these ghost sprites that don't look like anything in the game, the boo that likes to sneak a peek at you, no music playing here. This would have scared the pants off of me as a kid, but I love it now. For the game itself, everything's more moody and dimly lit, and even though you're in a mansion, there's not much room to stretch your legs. Narrow halls, enclosed spaces inside and out, plus the fact that you're all alone. Sure, there's EGAD and the Toads, but one's an old man, the others all share one brain cell. They're counting on you. The way EGAD waves to you like, later guy, that says enough about who's doing all the dirty work. For other unsettling bits, there's the final boss. Not since Melee's adventure mode have I been shocked/intimidated to fight Bowser, even if it's not really him here. He's like Entei in the third Pokemon movie. Not the real deal, but he plays the part, and those flames burn just as bad. It was super freaky seeing his head get blown off. That's something I never thought I'd see in Mario. Then his head goes on the wrong way and he rushes you, and once you've taken King Boo out, you're rewarded with this lovely visual. Even seeing it again, I was just left thinking, whoa. And Mario's picture here, he's apparently tuckered out, but I thought the game was gonna pull a phase 2 on me. Little creepy. This game's whole vibe lines up perfectly with how I celebrate the Halloween season. I'm more spooky than scary with my entertainment. It's more about having fun than PTSD. Think stuff like Scooby-Doo, ironically darker stuff like Zombie Island and Mystery Inc., Ruby Gloom, Freaky Stories, Grabbed by the Ghoulies, which, for those unconvinced, is not a knockoff of this game, like, at all. But yeah, Luigi's a part of my traditions now. In October 2023, I did another playthrough, and this game encourages going back and doing better, which I did. I found areas and ghosts I totally missed the first time, got every last boo, and a much better final rank. I'm satisfied with this, I live here. This could be a serious contender for an all-time favorite game, and I'm so happy it won me over. But I've talked about it long enough, let's highlight the other games for a bit. Onto Luigi's Mansion 2, well, funny story. When I started writing this out, I had only played the first and third games. I wasn't sure if I'd get to this one for the video at first and considered skipping it, which isn't a mark on the game, it was just so I didn't stress myself out video making. Luckily, my brother found a Nintendo Selects print at a game shop for $35 sealed, which is pretty good. Yeah, I could have bought the Switch port, but nah. I went with the original because I'm weird, and it's nice to play something on the old 3DS that ain't Pokemon. The 3D effect was cool for all 5 minutes I used it, and this version sometimes hits 60 frames per second where the Switch port is locked at 30. Don't get it twisted, I'm no frame rate snob, and a consistent frame rate is better, but it's just interesting. As noted earlier, the atmosphere here is more lighthearted, though sometimes it gets a tad spooky, and the music wasn't as endlessly replayable for me. The worst of it is the first theme, Gloomy Manor. It loops way too quickly, and around the 8th loop I turned down the volume for my own sanity, but the other mansion themes are better replay-wise. I was also coming into this ready to rip on the ghost designs here, but you know what? I liked them. They still look good and have fun personalities. I really liked the creepers, if only because of their screams when you catch them. And what were these fuzzball guys all about, huh? They don't really do anything, but I love these little freaks. I've heard some people don't like the mission-based setup here, but being a handheld game, I think it lends itself to a pick-up-and-play format. I do a mission in the morning, another later that day, and I felt more accomplished with each session. And going through several different mansions was another fun idea. If anything, I say it's pretty ambitious. One thing that did bug me was the lack of checkpoints. You die mid-mission, it's back to the start. There's lots of hearts and extra lives though, and outside boss fights, I only died once. That said, I am glad I had a gold bone on me, cause redoing some of these missions would suck. Speaking of bosses, they were kinda hit and miss. The first one with the spider was awesome, honestly felt like endgame material. And then boss number 2 is such a joke, the stairs leading to him were more of a challenge. The clock boss was fun, but the secret mine boss was torture. No lie, took me 40 minutes to do something that should have only taken 5. I'm reminded that Shigeru Miyamoto had a lot of say on the bosses and made the development team redo a lot of work if it didn't feel Luigi's Mansion enough, whatever that means. This boss apparently got redone 4 times, but I bet you Miyamoto didn't even play this, cause not only is this as un-Luigi's Mansion as it gets, but it also blows! Thankfully, the final boss picks up the slack. Doesn't etch out the original King Boo fight for me, but it's still pretty fun. Overall, I left this game feeling more than satisfied. I was worried since I played 3 first I'd be spoiled by a superior game, but 2 is still plenty good. I got a new context for stuff too, like character introductions, the victory music, and dedicated camera controls. Score 1 for the Switch port there. I also caught myself trying to do techniques from 3 and being upset they weren't here, but that's on me. And Polterpup, I can't forget to mention him. I felt so bad about sucking him up. He's your trusty sidekick in 3, the Scooby to your Shaggy, so it didn't come naturally to catch him like the other ghosts here. I thought he would just come back to the lab on his own. I felt terrible. Also, it's weird seeing him in the 3DS remake of Luigi's Mansion 1, which I'm not covering here, but it's cool to see them unify the franchise like that. Not all series pull off retcons well, but Polterpup makes everything better. I welcome the Luigi retcon too, especially after seeing how they made him fit in the canon, like right down to the second. You can tell the exact moment Luigi was sent back to the past during Dark Moon in this cutscene. And I didn't even know about these research journals they wrote up, explaining what happened between 2 and 3 and Luigi's entire backstory, but this is some prime world building. I love when Mario cares to do that, it's all I ever wanted. Which leads us now into Luigi's Mansion 3. I got this for Christmas 2023, but didn't play it until August 2024. I try to play games in chronological order, but as I said, I didn't have Dark Moon yet and sat on 3 before finally saying, screw it, I'm playing it now. I knew I'd be okay though. I mean, I played the Sly Cooper trilogy in the reverse order and that had a legit story. Things started out slow, but got going soon enough and didn't let up. Of all the new gameplay additions, the slam move might be my favorite. All that was missing was a cartoon sound effect every time you did it. I was also bowled over by the game's charm and attention to detail, even for stuff you could easily miss. I made an effort to interact with everything, and it was great being rewarded for it, even if all I got was a cute little animation. And playing it nearly 5 years after it came out, it's still one of the best looking Switch games ever. And again, not a frame rate snob, I swear to ya, but finding out it only ran at 30 FPS surprised me. For other details, I love how they did lip syncing for EGAD's voice. Granted, these voice clips were old enough to drive by 2019, but it still goes a long way. For new voice performances, this might be Charles Martinet's best take on Luigi since the original Luigi's Mansion, if not ever. People have gone on about how Charles's voice got lower in his later years, but Luigi's only got more charming over time. As I played the game, I thought, yeah, it's different, but I'm not bothered by it. I only wish we got more unique performances like this from Charles and crew. When was the last time Daisy got an all-new performance before they just booted her actor in Wonder, I wonder? talking a bit about the puzzles, they put me to the test in the best way. I did have a guide handy when I got really stumped, but for stuff I got on my own, I felt like a god figuring out. The Luigi puzzles were great too, though since I played this solo, things got a bit crazy controlling these two at the same time. Really want to try co-op one day. For some nitpicks I had, it's hilarious to see the downgrade of boo catching. The more fun it gets, the less mandatory it is. I only ever got one boo. And money has no use here aside from this limited shop, which I used maybe twice for gold bones. The second game used money the best, being used for upgrading the Poltergust, and I actually replayed missions to get more cash for said upgrades. Actually, I just replayed a couple bonus missions to get some cash, but the principle is still there. But here, I just stopped caring after a while. Didn't care about my final ranking either. It's still a nice hotel at the end of the day. The treasures also weren't linked to anything, but it was fun finding them for the heck of it. And can we talk about how that super suction power-up was barely a thing? I was looking forward to using this more than I did, which was once. It shows up again in 2 optional instances, and I completely missed them both. Ah well, next time. But those gripes I have, it's kinda whatever. All the good this game does outshines the bad. Like those boss battles, man were they good. A rogues gallery right up there with games like Cuphead and Punch-Out! Which, given this is next level games, Punch-Out makes a lot of sense. This guy right here, this guy's just super macho man. To list a few favorites, Amadeus Wolfgeist was a standout. Something about pianos in Mario just click. Captain Fishhook was great, loved everything about DJ Phantasmagoria. And no spoilers here, but the King Boo fight is the best King Boo fight going. I came out of this game thinking, best game in the series? I'm still debating, but even if it's not, it's still fantastic. What was I so afraid of about this series? Why didn't I play these sooner? They're all quality games, but picking favorites, the first one still does it for me. Among other things, it's just a weird little experiment that ended up doing so much for Mario's world and for Luigi's character. Not so much the cowardly thing, they were doing that since the 80s, but after this game, I can see why someone would devote a whole year to the man, even at the cost of $500 million. Luigi over Mario every day of the week and twice on Sundays. And I do hope someone makes another one. From the 3rd game sales alone, Luigi's proven he prints green better than he loses it. Spitballing ideas, I'd like to see some of the elemental power-ups return, have them do cool things with a ranking system, a soundtrack and atmosphere like the first game, but I'm sure I'd be happy with whatever I'm given. And if that day's a ways off, or God forbid it never comes, you know what? 3 good games is still pretty sweet. Anyways, thanks for watching everybody. I really hope you enjoyed what you saw. If you did, feel free to give this video a like, share, subscribe, check out my social media pages or my Patreon page where you can see videos like this one before they go public, alongside a couple other nice perks here and there if I do say so myself, all that good stuff that I always go on about. Speaking of the Patreon, I just want to give a special shout out to Lars Niswant for his support. As always, it means more than you know. Thanks so much. And tell me, what are some of your memories of Luigi's Mansion? What's your favorite game in the trilogy? What are some elements that you really appreciate? Whatever they are, feel free to leave them in the comments below. I'd love to read them. And while you're here, feel free to check out the videos I got on screen. I enjoyed making them. Hopefully you'll enjoy watching them. And with all of that said, I will see you all next time. Later!